So, good morning, everyone. Eller, in Sweden we say god morgon. Yes, nearly the same as in English. On behalf of our conference host, the European Disability Forum, EDF, and the Swedish Disability Rights Federation, I'm so very glad to welcome you, each and every one of you today, to this important conference on disability rights, accessibility, and artificial intelligence. So we should be around 150 people here at place, and I think about 300 people joining us online across Europe and the world. So I'm very glad to have you all here, join us here and virtually. And perhaps that's one of the benefits of our digital world, allowing us to be more inclusive and accessible regardless of where you are located in the world. So I welcome you all, of course, to this conference. And who am I? My name is Lotta Håkansson, and I'm a board member of the Swedish Disability Rights Federation. And I'm, of course, excited and a bit nervous today to be your conference host and hope to guide you and all of us through this jam-packed program as smooth as possible. So maybe I'll be the one who says, now you have to stop to talk. So, but I do it with a smile, and I'm trying to be very friendly at the same time. And we hope, of course, that we can connect and get together. Of course, we have the opportunity to learn from our speakers, and also when we have our fika and lunch. And fika, that's the coffee break. That's a very important word we have here in Sweden. So we have a lot of a big program, as I said. So the first panel, as we come to in half an hour or so, will explore disability rights in Europe with representatives from the United Nations, the European Commission, the European Parliament, and the European Disability Forum. And the second panel will focus more on accessibility, as we are guided through the European Accessibility Act, the landmark EU law, which requires some everyday products and services to be accessible for persons with disabilities. And during that panel, we will learn more about what we can expect from the Accessible EU Centre. And after lunch, we will dive deeper into the topic of artificial intelligence, AI and disability rights. And AI is known as the key driver of the fourth industrial revolution, and it's already part of our daily lives. So many of us probably used AI this morning. Did you? Maybe you used the Google Maps to come here, or maybe you asked Siri where to go this morning or where you can find coffee. I don't know, but maybe you did. But an important question remains: how can we make sure that no one is left behind within this revolution? And we will talk a lot about the AI in the afternoon, and that's very interesting. I hope to learn a lot then. I also want to thank all those who have made this conference possible. So a big thanks to the Swedish Post and Telecom Authority, the Swedish Minister of Health and Social Affairs, and European Commission for the support to make this event possible. However, before kicking off our program and welcome our opening speakers, I do want to take a moment to highlight some important housekeeping items. You must know how to do this today. And you have this sticker. You have got the sticker, you have it with your name on, and with your organization name as well. So that's very important, you have that on all the day. So, and the ED staff is here to help you, and who is the EDF staff? You can see them wave here, a lot of places around in the room. So take them by the hand if you would need something some help with anything. And as today's conference is a hybrid event, we would like to remind everyone that we have participants both in the room and online. So we hope that even you who are online also feel that you are included in this conference. And for remote participants, please use the Q&A for questions for panelists. And today we have international sign interpretation, and real-time captioning in English is available, both in the room and online. Let's see if I have the right slide here. Yes. An automatic translation of the captions into Swedish is available through the external link provided to you all. Additionally, there is also audio interpretation into French. Please don't forget to return the headsets after this conference. So don't go home with those. And there will be an opportunity to ask after each panel. So if you're online, we have a chat moderator who will keep you company and who will also read the questions that you have sent to the speakers out loud. If you're here in the room, then you can raise your hand and wait for a microphone. And if we don't have time for all the questions, because I reckon there will be a lot of questions, then we can gather them and post the answers on our website as soon as possible after the conference. So all the questions should be handled in one way or another. So also you can participate in the conversation on social media by using #InclusiveAI, or follow the Organisers on Twitter and Facebook, and you can see that on the slide as well here. And you can also give in your opinion on the following questions. Let's see, we have that one on the slide. Yes, panel 1, what are the top priorities to ensure #disability rights in Europe? And in the panel 2, you have the #Accessibility Act to create an accessible society. And then we also have the afternoon panel, #disability rights to be protected in AI system. So that's what all this conference is about. And now, when I have this long speech in the beginning about everything we should think about today, it's finally time to start this conference officially: disability rights, accessibility, and artificial intelligence. So to get us started, let's first listen to a message from the EU Commissioner for Equality, Helena Dalli. Hopefully we will see Helena. This is always a bit of stress, you know.
Dear colleagues, dear friends, this conference will tackle the critical interrelation of 3 important policies: disability rights, accessibility, and artificial intelligence. The EU remains committed to the full implementation of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, including in the context of the digital transformation of our societies. and European policies promote an inclusive and accessible transformation for persons with disabilities. Moreover, we must seize the opportunities the digital transition offers for advancing disability rights. For instance, eye tracking and voice recognition software can help persons with disabilities access and communicate information, supporting their inclusion in education and employment. Assistive technologies can help to identify accessible routes. Artificial intelligence is even being used in diagnosis, treatment, and in the field of mental health. But we should not lose sight of the challenges this transformation creates. Effective use of new technologies requires the removal of accessibility barriers for persons with disabilities and investing in their digital skills. We need to prevent a growing digital divide and make sure no one is left behind. Concrete and affirmative actions are also essential to avoid prejudice and stereotypes being reflected in AI technologies and robotics. This is why the human rights of persons with disabilities need to be placed at the heart of the debate about these technologies. So thank you for your efforts in making this happen. I wish you a fruitful discussion.
A big thanks to Commissioner Dalli. Yeah, we can send an applause. And now I'm glad to welcome on stage, she's already here, the Swedish Minister of Social Services, who is responsible for protecting the rights of persons with disabilities in Sweden, Camilla Waltersson Grönvall. Welcome, warmly welcome. And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to speak before you at this important event. Today is the halfway mark of the Swedish presidency of the EU. These past 3 months have been filled with interesting meetings and exciting experiences. As the Minister for Social Services with responsibility for disability policy, the rights of persons with disabilities are very high on my agenda. Persons with disabilities have the right to participate fully in all aspects of life, and we must do everything possible to promote, protect, and ensure their full and equal enjoyment of all human rights. During the Swedish presidency, we have tried to highlight different aspects of the challenges that persons with disabilities may meet. For example, the perspective of persons with disabilities living in economically vulnerable situation was highlighted during the presidency conference on economic perspectives on gender-based violence. The conditions of children with special needs in school were highlighted during the meeting of Directors General for Schools. And challenges that persons with psychosocial disabilities may meet regarding the right to a home will be discussed during the presidency conference on social inclusion and access to adequate housing, which is taking place on Tuesday next week, on the 4th of April. I would also like to take this chance to promote the seminar organized by the Swedish Agency for Participation and the Commission, which will be held in Brussels in the last few days of the presidency on the 27th of June. The seminar will focus on disability policy and national strategies that promote the rights of persons with disabilities. The Swedish presidency is taking place during a particularly challenging time for Europe. The Russian war of aggression against Ukraine has displaced millions of people and high energy prices and inflation makes everyday life difficult for all Europeans. In situations of risk and humanitarian emergencies, people in already vulnerable situations, such as persons with disabilities, are often hardest hit, facing a high risk of abandonment, violence, or even death. We also know that persons with disabilities not only experience barriers to full and effective participation in society, they also tend to have smaller financial margins than the general population, which makes them particularly exposed to rapidly increasing food and energy prices. The Swedish presidency wants to highlight the importance of ensuring the protection of the fundamental rights, especially for persons in vulnerable situations in times of crisis. Therefore, we are hosting a conference on institutional protection of fundamental rights in times of crisis in Lund at the end of April. It is essential that our societies step up to the challenge and protect those in need. We must keep working within the EU to coordinate and to find solutions to fulfill our obligations and give the support and help needed to as many as possible. Disability policy is a cross-sectoral policy area, and it needs to be treated as such. If we are to build a non-discriminatory and accessible society, there must be a systematic and effective implementation of disability policy at all levels of society. One example of how we are working with this in Sweden is the national 10-year strategy for systematic monitoring of disability policy. The strategy identifies 12 priority areas, one of which is digitalization, and stipulates that disability policy must be monitored by a total of 29 designated government agencies, ranging from the Agency from Digital Government to the Public Employment Service to the Transport Agency and the Migration Agency. This is also why conferences like this one is so important. It highlights disability rights within a specific policy area. Listening to the perspective of persons with disabilities and their representative organizations is also imperative for the creation and implementation of disability policy. Here, I would like to take the opportunity to thank the organizers, the Swedish Disability Rights Federation and the European Disability Forum, for arranging this meeting and for choosing such a topical subject. As society grows more and more dependent on technology and digital innovation, we need to make sure that new technologies are inclusive and accessible for all. For example, many authorities and businesses today use voice recognition technology for answering the phone, which saves both time and money. Still, if we do not make sure that AI can learn to recognize different types of speech and voices, we risk excluding people, for example, those with language disorders, from many of our most fundamental services. It is central that these potential problems that make the system inaccessible are highlighted and identified, that we spread awareness and that we find solutions together. I was happy to see that today's speakers represent a wide range of actors. I believe that, for society to develop, it is essential that different actors come together and exchange experiences and best practices. I hope that you will enjoy the conference and the interesting discussions that will take place today. Thank you very much.
Tack så mycket. Thanks a lot, Camilla. And once again, thank you for the support from your department, the Swedish Department of Health and Social Affairs, for supporting our conference today. And we are hopeful, and as we heard Camilla said, we are hopeful Sweden will continue the conversation about disability rights throughout the presidency and even after. So thank you so much for that. Now, our next opening speaker, representing one of our conference hosts, the Swedish Disability Rights Federation, and it's our General Secretary who will speak on behalf of our President Elisabeth Wallenius, who unfortunately couldn't join us today, but Nicklas, you are so welcome. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lotta. Distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. Very nice to see you here all. On behalf of the Swedish Disability Rights Federation, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this important conference. We're going to talk about disability rights, accessibility, and artificial intelligence in the European Union. We're honored to host this gathering in Stockholm, and we hope it will provide an opportunity for us to learn of each other, share our experience, and work together towards a more inclusive and accessible society. We are meeting at a time of crisis in the world. The COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine, the Russian war in Ukraine, have caused an unprecedented challenges to our economies, health system, and society overall. In this context, it's more important than ever to prioritize human rights, equality, and inclusion to stop people with disability from being further left behind. Today, we meet as the key players and advocating for disability rights in Europe. Our work has for decades focused on measures to improve the rights. However, we also know that measures is only effective as it's enforced. It's crucial that lawmakers and governments across the EU take concrete steps to ensure the rights and people with disabilities to constantly advancing and upheld. We are here today as change makers and leaders of our organizations to gather strength from one another. We know that technology, and especially artificial intelligence, already has an impact that will play a more significant part of our daily lives, as Lotta talked about earlier today. And it's happening at a speed of that we never seen before. This afternoon, we're going to talk about the potential of AI to promote disability rights. But at the same time, we are aware that we need to focus on the legislation to make sure that technology is developed and used in the way that does not preserve exclusion. We must also ensure that people with disability will have access to justice and remedies when AI causes damage or discrimination. We have a long way to go with many challenges ahead. We're looking forward to learning from all of you today and to have promote disability rights, accessibility, and human-centric AI all across Europe, and taken one step forward in the path to create a more just and inclusive society. Thank you, everyone, again, and a warm welcome to this conference.
Thank you, Nicklas. And next and last but not least, we welcome the Vice President of the European Disability Forum and International Disability Alliance, Pat Clarke. Welcome, and you prefer to sit down? Yeah, yes. Please, the floor is yours.
On behalf of, apologies on behalf of Janis Vardikastanis, who can't be with us here today, but dear Swedish Minister for Social Services, Camilla, dear representatives of the European Commission, and you know who you are, General Secretary of the Swedish Disability Rights Federation, Nicklas, and dear friends and dear colleagues. On behalf of the European Disability Forum, I would like to thank the Swedish Presidency of the EU, and particularly our Swedish members, for joining forces in organising this comprehensive and timely conference, in which we will discuss many of the key priorities of the European disability movement at the moment and in the years to come. We have already entered the last active year of the current mandate of the European Commission and the European Parliament before the elections in 2024. And we have high expectations for the Council of Presidencies of Sweden and Spain, two countries which have led important advancements in the rights of persons with disabilities in different domains. Therefore, with the leading role of Commissioner for Equality, Helena Dalli, European Commission services, and the long-standing support and commitment of members of the European Parliament and these Council presidencies, we really hope that this year, before the elections, we will successfully complete the many policy priorities that we must have set before the next mandate. We must acknowledge that there has been progress in the last years concerning disability rights at a policy level. As a matter of fact, at the beginning of this legislative term in 2019, we did not know if we would even have or have not a European disability strategy for the next decade. However, we need to turn these policies into real change for everyday lives of the 100 million European citizens with disabilities. Besides, during the past years, and even today, we witness terrible crises, such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in the Ukraine, which remind us that persons with disabilities are often left behind, despite the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is often neglected. Hence, we insist on our call to adopt policies that guarantee the rights of persons with disabilities, as established by the UN CRPD, which will be a reality that we can all enjoy across Europe and beyond. The Disability Rights Strategy 21 to 2030 brought a number of key initiatives which we will discuss today. In addition to reflecting on these, I also encourage you to talk about the future and pending challenges. How should it be the future of the European Disability Card? What additional European legislation have we missed? How can the EU support national, regional and local authorities? And what actions should the strategy implement after 2024? Which projects should the EU fund in member states and in third countries? Today, we will also discuss two key elements that can affect the lives of persons with disabilities for the better, and hopefully not for the worse. Firstly, accessibility, a precondition that should be taken into consideration in the design of all products, services, environments and infrastructure. However, we still face too many barriers preventing us from participating on an equal footing with others. During the last mandate, the EU adopted a strong set of legal acts concerning accessibility, like the European Accessibility Act. Now, however, once again, the challenge is to implement accessibility in practice and to bring these European laws into the reality of our communities. Secondly, in the afternoon, we will discuss artificial intelligence, a technological breakthrough that is already shaping our societies and has the potential of supporting our independent living, or on the contrary, to further discriminate against us, sometimes even without us realising it. The EU has put forward a regulation to govern the use of artificial intelligence, and we, citizens with disabilities, must be involved in the negotiations about this law and any plan to deploy these technologies, because it is only just a matter of ensuring accessibility. It's not only just a matter of ensuring accessibility, but also equal opportunities and non-discrimination in the new paradigm that is artificial intelligence, which will bring to our societies. So I'm very pleased that we can address all these crucial issues at this very important meeting with you all. I wish you all very fruitful discussions and a real exchange of ideas and thoughts. And thank you very much for being here and having the interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Really good welcoming. So we have all these excellent speakers here. In a short run, they have told us everything about what's going to happen today and what we are going to discuss further on. So a big applause to the welcomers, and then you can go off stage, because now we're going to change the scene.